Hey, everybody, welcome to this issue of Staffing Monthly, the industry's only publication that brings you actionable insights from the top thought leaders in the areas of recruiting, marketing, sales, leadership, and technology. And today we're going to be talking to one of the industry's forefront thought leaders in the technology space. They are somebody that is really making sense of all of the chaos that is surrounding us with AI and automation and tech tools and tech stack and all of this stuff that is overwhelming most staffing leaders. And it's actually holding us back because we can't make sense of it. And we're going to miss the moment if we don't sort this out and take the right step technologically. So I actually have Travis Webb, who's the VP of Sales from PARQA, but he is actually first and foremost a sales leader that focuses exclusively on helping staffing and recruiting firms use technology and turn it into their competitive advantage, right? That thing that we're always looking to do. How do we differentiate ourselves? How do we beat out the competition? Today, technology is that answer if you can do it right. And Travis is the guy to help you do that. And most importantly, and I love this about him, is he does it in a way that is no fluff, no BS, straightforward, and he helps organizations get rid of all of that unnecessary tech bloat that CFOs hate. So, Travis, welcome to the show, my man. I'm glad to catch up with you here.
Absolutely, man. It's great to see you again. I don't think we've chatted since our little Top Golf outing there in Fort Lauderdale a few months back, but excited to be joining you.
Which was great, man. I love that you guys do fun things like that. That you actually host industry events. You get people out golfing. The food was incredible. It was that was a really fun time, man. That was for people that didn't attend. You missed a good one.
Absolutely. I'm glad we were able to make it and join us.
So, man, I follow your content on LinkedIn, and I love that you put a healthy blend of thought leadership out there, but you also give people a glimpse into who you are, the Webb household, and it just, I love that, man. And I see the stuff that you're putting out there, and when I start to get confused on all this techno mumbo jumbo and all these new shiny object tools, I will tend to gravitate towards the stuff that you're saying about what people should be doing. And I thought, I got to get this guy on the show. So this is what I want to set the stage for us. Staffing has typically been tech laggard. We've been tech resistant. We've not really wanted to adopt, but AI has changed that. And now we're like catching up at a crazy pace. But I feel like most people don't really fully understand what's going on. They don't understand the scope or how to best use AI and how all these tech platforms can benefit them. So, what I want to know from you, who's helping the best leaders in the industry sort it out, is how should staffing leaders approach the technology planning piece today? What should they be doing?
Well, first of all, you have to be paying attention to it, right? So that's the big thing. If you're not, then you are already falling behind. But number two, I think there's, obviously AI is the buzz, right? And you're starting to see it come into more and more of the day-to-day processes. But I think to your point, as an industry, we've been laggards, whether it's marketing, whether it's technology. Um, I look back, I tell people all the time, like, you think of COVID. I mean, heck, if it wasn't for COVID, we'd be even further behind because that really made a lot of staffing and recruiting firms all of a sudden, wait a second, our employees have to be able to work from home. But number two, okay, hey, the system we've just been kind of limping along with it actually has to work for us now, right? So when I look at that point of it, but I feel like there's this AI is this magical thing that's going to come save the day, and it's kind of the crawl, walk, run, right? So we have a lot of companies that, from a tech standpoint, are crawling or maybe barely walking, and now they want to go run the 100-meter sprint, in the Olympics with AI, and there's this whole world in between. And I think what's important is baselining where you're at today, understanding what that future state is where you want to get to, but knowing there's a lot of work to be done in between there because I was watching, to your point, I follow a lot of content online and somebody posted, I think Monday morning, it's like AI is great, but if your process is broken, AI is not going to fix it,
Yeah.
right? So if you automate or you put an agent on a process that doesn't work, it's not going to fix the process. So there's a lot of work and strategy, and that's where I think a lot of people miss out is they get excited, they see this technology, they think it's going to save the world, but there's no strategy behind it. And it's the equivalent of the spray and pray with candidates, right? Like you just kind of you go for it and hope it works. And we see a lot of that. So being able to step back and understand like, hey, you want to do AI, but you never really did automation, right? And then there's a whole there's so many things in between there that we have to help people get established and a baseline on before they get to this new and exciting world of AI.
So then let me ask you, man, if they got to start with the strategy, which I wholeheartely agree with you. I think it's great. I think AI is a multiplier. If you got a good process, it will multiply that. If you've got a bad process, it will multiply that. So, but if you got to start with the strategy, and this industry has changed so much. I mean, this is not just your typical seasonal, structural, or cyclical shift. This is a structural shift. Like our industry has fundamentally changed. How should a leader look out into that vast openness where there's a lot of uncertainty about where the industry is going and be able to pick a heading that they can say, this is our strategy? Like, how do they narrow that down so they can actually build a sound process to layer on automation and AI?
Well, I think first off is you have to self-reflect and understand what you do well, right? So I think in any business or any this, you can't be everything to everybody, right? You have to be dialed in and something that you're good with. What do you have a good process for? And then when you think of technology and AI, it's not, I hate this term, but boiling the ocean, right? Like you're not trying to boil the ocean. You really are. Let's pick one thing. Make sure our process is right. Let's implement automation, and then let's look at AI, but don't try to do it all at once. And I think in today's world, the candidate experience side of it, right? Like just start with automation. Like what's something you can do different today that you're or tomorrow that you're not doing today, right? Is it, hey, I have a bunch of applications, but maybe I have a smaller team, or maybe I have whatever the limitation is of like, I don't even respond back to everybody that applies. That's a simple automation, right? Take a baby step and then, okay, hey, once you've responded to them, now what's the next step in that journey? What's the next step in that process? But you start building at like, at that as your foundation. So let's get really good at one. Let's understand how to use automation to get us to a certain point. Let's understand, is there an AI opportunity there, or maybe even an agent play there? How do we do that, right? And so start small, get good at it, understand the process internally, and then build on it from there.
Okay, so let's start small and live right there then. So which I think you hit a really good one is on that candidate experience. I've been preaching for a while that the agencies that want to thrive are going to basically bring back a positive candidate experience and start to capture that audience and kind of create
Yep.
those ambassadors to those agencies, leave positive reviews, all of that stuff. And but the candidate, the job seeker, they've been burned. They apply. There's articles all the time. Like I applied to 600 jobs and got 4 people that responded, right? So, and that's happening because of technology to some extent. So let's focus there. What is if you said it was a simple automation, how would you do it? If you said an agency was like, hey, we want to be able to respond to every single person that applies, what would you recommend? Very specifically, how would they do that?
I mean, it's depending on the system you're in, you just set up the automation upon an application. There's an automated response that goes to it. Now, there's a lot of canned automated responses, right? But how do you get your proper messaging, whatever it is, across that you want to send back to that candidate? And real quickly about, just so we understand kind of the evolution of PARQA real quick, we started out as a digital marketing agency. So I've been here 2.5 years. When I first got here, this was a lot of what we were doing is experience design and
Yeah.
designing these automation strategies that go out for this. So now we've really focused on more of the technology side, but this is still like at the heart of what we did. So it's understanding, okay, hey, initial outreach and just acknowledging that you actually received their application seems very basic, right? However, to your point a minute ago, it doesn't happen with a lot of applications. Number two, once you've acknowledged that you've received it, how do you have a follow-up, right? Like what is the sequence for that? Do you have a certain review period? Do you set the stage immediately of like, hey, we'll review your application. If we feel like you're a fit, we'll like so there's a lot of thought process that goes into that of what that series of communication looks like. Okay, then you go through that process. Do they get hired? Yes. Okay, there's another set of automations for onboarding, continuous staying in touch with them. If you didn't choose them, that's, in our industry, the silver medal winner gets forgotten about a lot,
Yeah.
right? But why? If they were that close to getting the job, they're clearly a good candidate. What else do you have out there? And so staying in touch with them. And, always said it in our industry. You hear a lot about like with direct sourcing with candidate pools, right? And I think of the industry as a whole, like why does everybody not use candidate pools? Lump your candidates together by skills, have a certain messaging and automation series that continues to go out with them and nurtures that. And to me, that's the way that you build up that pipeline of candidates. You're staying in touch, you're communicating. I think the hesitancy in the past was, oh man, it's technology, it's AI, it's not a human interaction. And you heard the term a lot, white glove service.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, you cannot give white glove service to the number of candidates that are applying to a job today. So, how can you use automation to at least give them some service, right?
Yeah.
And acknowledge and be that part of it, but then also to, help you to weed out your day and get to the right candidates that you can provide that white glove service to.
So I think that makes a ton of sense. And there's two questions I want to dig into there. So first is with the volume of job seekers that are applying to these roles, and obviously it's exponential for staffing agencies. Do you see a greater adoptance or willingness for the job seeker to actually engage with an AI agent or somebody that's doing the initial interviewing screening that's truly, an AI agent? Is that people are willing to do that now, right?
Absolutely. I think the latest generation is much more adept to that. And I know that if you look at what was it earlier this year, Jan from Candidly does the World Staffing Summit, and then there was a section where the new tech tools or AI tools are able to come in and do a short stint about their product at the end. And I remember I wrote them down on a pad, but I want to say like 11 or 12 out of the 20 were all AI screening tools, right? So as part of at Bullhorn Engage, they rolled out Amplify, or as part of Bullhorn, that now has screening tools built into it. So that is definitely, if I look at like what's the hottest tool in staffing and recruiting from an AI standpoint, I feel like that screening piece of it is what's really kind of forefront right now that we see a lot of that's getting out there. So yes, people are willing to do it.
And that makes sense to me because one, it's a top of funnel thing. You're already paying for those applications as it is. So this is going to help you get a better ROI out of that and give your candidates a better experience. I think that makes a ton of sense for agencies to be starting there. And to your point, Travis, you said people are willing to do it. And for anyone that takes a step back and looks at sort of history, the willingness to do something is the precursor to the expectation that that's how it's done. So right now, there was a time, if you can, you're probably not old enough to remember this, but there was a time when people just sort of like, hey, I'm willing to engage with a website. I'll shop
Yep.
online. I'm willing to do that. But now it's the expectation. Like if you hear about a company and you go look them up and they don't have a website, the first thought in your mind is, I don't think this is a real company. And I think that that's where this is going, where you're eventually going to get to the point where someone's like, oh, if I can't engage with an agent 24/7, even if it's AI or whatever, then that's probably not a legitimate company. I think that's where it's headed. So people do need to put those in motion right now. Um,
Well, I will say this too, Dan. Like I think the other side of the coin here is that with AI, it's also generated a lot of fake candidates,
yeah.
right? And so if you think about that from an agency standpoint and providing that candidate experience, there's also now a level of filtration you have to put on there because it's real. I mean, when you get 1,000 applications for a job in a 2-hour period, right? That can be crippling to an agency. And then, we're starting to see some tools out there too that can help with like identifying candidates. Does the name match? Where's the IP address coming from? Like there's some cool technology out there that's helping solve that problem. But that's the other side of this coin too, is there's some negatives to it.
So, but I'm glad you said that because right now we're coming off, what is it, 2.5, almost 3 years of declining demand for staffing, right, from our
Yep.
clients. And I think that's because they've been able to figure out how to do what we've largely done for the last 10 years, right? And now it's our time to evolve. If we deal with that problem of fake candidates, they will too, right? And if we can get more adept at leveraging tools to sort through that and get them real candidates, now we've got a value prop again. And
Yep.
that's where they might say, you know what, I'm going to go with the staffing agency because I don't want to figure out which one of these 1,000 applications are real. I don't want to invest in the technology. I don't want to figure this out. So I'm just going to pay someone else to do it, right? So I think
Yep.
that problem is actually an opportunity for most staffing agencies to lean into to provide value to the market again. So
Yeah, I
I,
mean
yeah,
that's always been, in my opinion, one of the biggest values is the screening process, the actual doing that initial work. Because I can't imagine as a corporate TA recruiter today, I mean, knowing the amount of people that are looking for jobs and you put a job out there, I mean, it's the number of hours without the right technology has got to be just insane.
it's gonna be mine. It's soul crushing. It's gotta be. So let's do this then. I'm going to do a quick lightning round question, and then I want to go through because you mentioned something before we hit record that I think would be beneficial to me at least to walk through a workflow. But if you are just going to outline at a high level the optimal workflow from job application or kind of job ad to application to getting somebody on placement, what are those key steps? And in addition to what you said, automating the screening piece, is there another area that an agency should look at automating or look at maybe agentic AI to focus on? Like, what are the key steps of that process and where should they focus on AI?
Right. So I would say obviously application, right? So if you look at, the application process from the website, it's hard to believe that we actually have to talk about this, but it's 2025. You can upload your resume and still be asked to fill in the same information. It doesn't parse. It's
Gotcha.
it baffles me, but it is there, right? Like once you get in there, that automation, starting that candidate experience, making sure internally that your team, has a cadence that you work through that, leveraging your ATS of choice from a technology standpoint for, getting that person through the process. If you're in healthcare, compliance, credentialing, all of these things that go out there. I will say this, there's AI tools in that now to help with that process. And especially when you get to onboarding, that's where we're seeing a lot of the AI come into play for onboarding, which has always been a very cumbersome process,
Yeah.
particularly in the healthcare world. It's interesting. I'll talk to a healthcare company and they'll have 200 employees, and then you realize like 40% of them are compliance and credentialing on the back end, right? You think of from just a cost saving standpoint. I mean, that's when 40% of your company is just doing compliance on the back end. That's a major expense, right? So there's some
Yeah.
tools coming in there. And then once you get them on board and once you get them on site, it's also taking the automation from there and making sure that you have your regular touch points, you're staying in touch with them. Redeployment, right? You have a great candidate, you've been working with them. If they're going to roll off one project, how do you get them onto the next one? So making sure that those are all in place. And I will say this, like I was in the industry, I think this is my 25th year, 24th year, right? And like I said, it baffles me that we still talk about some of the same things today that we talked about when I got into the business of just some of the fundamentals of the blocking and tackling, right, of staffing. And it's a contact sport. I've always said that, right? Like it's about being in front of people. It's about, touch points. It's about staying connected. And those challenges are still there, even with the new tools and tech.
So I think that's a great analogy to drive a segue point before I get into picking your brain about an AI tool. Um, so I think the reason that we struggle with those same blocking and tackling things is because when you're in this industry, as you said, it is a contact sport. It's we're the quarterback. And the most professional sports teams there are, they've got the quarterback, then they've got the coach, they got all the coaches, they got the GM, they got people that focus on different things. And in this industry, we don't always have that luxury. So we're always trying to basically manage the entire organization from behind center, And that's a tough thing to do. So I think really from what you're saying is like, hey, let's just go to the sideline. Let's go to the front office and like let's just look at the organization, take time out of the game if we can, and create a game plan that's going to prepare us for the future. And I think that that's really why I think those are the companies that are going to actually excel in the next 3 years are the ones that actually do that. They take a step back and they stop letting their attention get consumed, putting out all the daily fires, and they say, "Hey, you know what? No, we're gonna create a better plan and reinvent themselves."
Yeah, with that, Dan, we operate under the EOS operating system, the entrepreneurial operating system.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I was talking with our co-CEO yesterday. It's like we're getting ready to have our quarterly offsite. And regardless of how crazy it is, and our team is just stretched right now as we hire and we continue to grow, um, taking that time away to sit back, set the priorities, set the rocks, which is just, an assignment for each person on the team to come back and do some research and learn on a new process and kind of help improve things. Like that's super important. It doesn't matter how crazy it gets. we always take time to sit back, reflect, set our goals, and continue to look for areas to optimize and improve. So, to your point, you don't have to use that operating system, but just making sure that you make time for those regular kind of look backs, look forwards, check-ins, understanding what's working, what's not, and being able to pivot and being willing to pivot, is a big part of success.
I love that, man. And I'm a huge supporter of EOS. I think it's a great system for people that, if they don't have a system, it's a great one to look at to really bring some clarity and focus to their business. So, but I wasn't planning on this, but you mentioned something on the front end as we were kind of joking about we're on a Zoom meeting right now. This is where it's being recorded, but we all do virtual meetings now, and it seems like every attendee has their own notes taker, and you saw that I'm using Fireflies. I also actually have Fathom on this one as well, and you've got Read. So there's actually more note takers on this call right now than there are live people, which is baffling to me. But you told me really quickly how you use Read and the way that you've set it up to be optimized, and it's way more efficient than what I've done with Firefly. So can you just walk me through that? So you're using Read.ai as your note taker. How
Yep.
do you set it up from there?
Oh man, I have it tied into my Salesforce. So when I have a meeting, automatically it joins the meetings. It searches Salesforce for the members. If you're in our Salesforce database when you're done, it automatically logs the meeting notes in the Salesforce as the record. One thing I didn't mention to you beforehand, if you're on the meeting and you're not in Salesforce, it logs you as a lead in Salesforce for me to go in and add and create a record for you or do follow up on. I also have it connected to Slack. So I have a Slack channel. Whenever I'm done with a meeting, I get the summary of the notes that comes to my Slack channel. Those are easy to share with other members of the team. One thing I really like about it is I can go back and watch calls. It's already got it separated out into the key highlights. They've recently rolled out more AI where it'll give you a summary as the VP of sales. It'll give you a summary of the overall meeting. It'll set the agenda for the next meeting. It'll set a follow-up email that lays out everything that was just covered. So it just continues to evolve and evolve more and more. But um, you know, and it joins my calls even if I'm not there. So I have some clients that they laugh and they're like, I was just talking to your note taker for a couple seconds before I realized it wasn't you. It was your actual note taker. But I've just been able to continue to tie it into all of the different systems we use. And from an automation standpoint, right, it automatically connects. It automatically sends me a Slack. It automatically logs records. It automatically logs leads. But then at the same time, too, it has that AI piece of it to where it'll coach me, it'll set me up for the next steps, it'll do all of that. So, I know you mentioned we have three of them on here. There's a bunch of options out here.
Yeah.
I've just been a big fan of really learning how to integrate it within our tools and kind of to our overall conversation, right? There's different tools, there's different tech out there for everything, right? They all do great things, but find the one that works best for you and your processes and one that you can integrate the most. And that's really why I've enjoyed it. It's all in one place. It's easy to get to. My notes are everywhere, and I don't have to go chase stuff down.
So I appreciate you walking me through that. I think it's really cool that you've set it up with a number of ways where it actually gets the deliverable output that you need from it as a tool and it gets it into all the right places. And I'm sure that, these other tools can do that. But uh, if anybody wants to reach out and just say, "Hey, Travis, walk me through setting up my AI notes taker better," or maybe they want to learn more about the applicant experience process and the way to have that automated or use agents in the AI process, or any other area of tech without blowing up their budget, what's the best way that they should reach out to you?
Yeah, LinkedIn's always, my opinion, that's the easiest, but email, phone number, call me on my phone either way. I mean, I'm accessible in any of those avenues. So anybody that would love to talk through any of this, I'd be more than happy to jump on with them.
Awesome, man. And I'll get those links right here on page and in the show notes on YouTube so they can get a hold of you. And trust me, people, if you are out there and you don't know Travis Webb, go follow him on LinkedIn. Go send him a connection request. The content he puts out there is not just it's not salesy, it's not fluff. It's actually really insightful. And then even in addition to that, it's actually fun to follow you and kind of just the kind of the exploits of your family and I love that you're an open book, man. Super approachable, and I think that genuine, authentic nature lends itself well for a guide in a confusing time of technology.
And you may get an AI generated image every now and then of me riding a rocket ship. I don't know. I put that one out a couple weeks ago, and
I saw those. I
I
didn't get
get
to
I
engage.
get
It
a
was
ton
so
of
good.
comments. I ran into an old client of mine at a restaurant the other night. The first thing he says to me is, "Man, that picture was awesome."
It was
So,
so good, man. I saw that. I was like, oh, that's great. I love it,
uh,
man. You're on the front end, and I really, it's fun. So again, if you don't know Travis Webb, go get to know him. He's a good dude in the industry, and he's helping a lot of people out make sense of all the technology out there. But Travis, thanks for being here, man. I'm glad to connect with you.
absolutely appreciate it. Thank you, Dan.